Welcome everybody to the SmartBuild webinar, where we're going to cover the new features for release 1.87. Just kind of rules of the road for people who are new here. So Sean McFeely, who's our product manager, is going to walk through all the new features. Usually we get that done in about 30, 40 minutes, something like that. And then what we like to do after we've done that is we open it up for general Q&A. Okay, so stick around if there are items of particular interest to you, and we just completely open it up, and we usually don't put a time frame on it. If we run over an hour, we just keep going, and we certainly should be able to do that today. As Sean is going through, we're going to keep everybody muted because we don't want it to be a free-for-all. But if you have questions, just hit the chat bubble in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and you can type notes, and we'll have somebody fielding those notes, texting them over to Sean, and so he can respond to them as he's walking and give you more clarity, on the feature that he had been showing that you're asking questions about. So please feel free to go ahead and use that chat button with any questions you might have as we go. Okay. So as everybody I hope knows, 1.86 we in that release, we introduced our first version of the interior floor planner design system for, well, I say barn dominiums, but it's not just barn dominiums. That would be for offices and so on and so forth. You're going to see that we've done some modifications here for the interior framing. I won't steal Sean's thunder, so I'll let him just jump in and go over those things. And just so everybody knows, too, 1.88, we're going to continue on this momentum that are very important for the barndos and related types of buildings by addressing lofts, mezzanines, and what will be ceilings for that first story of construction. And we have it as a high priority to finish, well, not to finish off, to further enhance SmartBuild for the barn dominium market in subsequent releases. I don't know if it's going to be right in 1.89, where we're going to allow you to specify second story framing, okay, for interiors. So, as is true of all of our releases, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We address multiple features. In a typical release, we have about 25 items that we address. So you'll see an additional group of enhancements that address all different phases of what SmartBuild does. So I think that does it for an introduction. I will go ahead and hand it off to Sean, and hope everybody enjoys what he has to show you today. Okay.
All right, thanks, Keith. Can you see my screen, Keith, before I get going? Just
sure can. Yeah.
All righty.
Yep, we're good to go. I can hear you and I can see the screen, so thumbs up.
Okay, thank you. All right, so like Keith said, we're going to go over the new stuff in 1.87. Once again, I'm going to be using a beta version of the software. So this is not available for you right now, but it will be. And again, we're still doing some testing on this. We think it's going to be early next week, so Monday or Tuesday. This time we will send out an email. We'll let you know when this goes live. But this is on beta. You can go up to the beta site. If you type beta before the web address that you use, you can log into beta. It's going to be the same login information, and you are going to go to your site. And so it's I'm trying to think when we did an up. So we copy the data from the live data into the beta occasionally, usually when we do a release, so every few weeks. So the data may be a little bit stale, but it's pretty up to date. You'll see the jobs that you have in your system. You'll have your same settings, all that kind of stuff. So you can come in here, log in to beta. It's not production. Don't be doing production work on here. But you can come in here. You can play around with these. We really do recommend, if you have some time, just to hop in there, look at a few different jobs, just kind of make sure and check and see if things are good. There's just so many customers and so many different settings that we can't possibly test everything. And we do a pretty thorough job but if you go in there and take a look at your system, that could be really helpful for us. And if something jumps out at you, just let us know. So anyway, this is going to be on the beta site. This is not going to be available until early next week. We'll send out an email, let you know. Okay, so we're going to go over the new stuff here. It's going to be fairly high level. I'm going to kind of just touch on these things, show you kind of how they work. We will have a video of this webinar, and I think we'll send that out with the announcement of when this goes live as well. So if you need to review that, then you can go through and review this. You can also contact our support desk and get some more details on these things if you need more details on how to get these set up for you specifically. Okay, so we'll get going here on the new stuff. I'm going to jump into the settings. Often we have new things that you can kind of opt into. We basically, with new features, we set it up to where you opt into them. We don't change anything on you. So if you do want to take advantage of these, you will have to kind of do some potential settings changes and opt into these. The first thing that I'm going to just quickly go over, I'm going to go into the truss catalog here. And this one's going to be fairly quick. It does only apply to specific types of trusses, which in our release notes, I didn't really mention that, but so there is a new setting here for trusses, and it is truss color. And really this is just going to affect the color of those trusses in the 3D model and how they look. And we use the same colors that we have for like your framing members. So you can go in and change post or like your skirt boards or different engineered lumber for headers and different things, and they can look a little bit different in the 3D model with the color. We basically just applied that to the trusses as well. And I think we added this red iron color. So you can choose from these different colors. Now the thing is, right now that I didn't mention in the release notes, this is only for these parallel cord trusses, which we'll take a look at in the model just real quick. So these are only going to apply to the parallel cord trusses right now. And so that's, you can have kind of different types of steel is really what's been driving this. And so if you have a specific color of steel that you use for your parallel cord trusses, you can get these different colors that come in your model, look more realistic when you're showing models to your clients and that kind of thing. If we do get more requests, if you want to see these colors for your more maybe typical wood truss, then we can work these into the other kinds of trusses. Right now it's only going to apply to parallel cord trusses once again. And this is going to work like the truss catalog. If it picks out this particular truss, and if I have this as red iron, then when it pulls this truss with this skew into my model based off of, you know, if everything meets the criteria here for this truss, then it's going to come in as red iron. But if you're not using parallel cord trusses, nothing here is really going to change. If you are, you do need to come in here and you do have to change up those colors, and you can use the download feature where you can download an Excel file and you could just make changes in that file, and then you could re-upload it, and then you can get those different colors that come in for different trusses if that's something you want to do. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to jump into something else here in the framing rules this time. And these are related to the colors. I'm going to go into my framing rules, and you'll notice there are a couple things here that I don't have set up. So I haven't done anything with these on this beta system. This is going to be the way that your system is going to show up initially. And these are for the accent colors here. So we've had this accent color 1 and accent color 2 already in the system, in addition to the roof color, the wall color, the trim color. So you'll see once we go into a job in a model, we can change these colors and they will change the color of these different parts of the model. Here we have these as just generic. You can kind of use them however you wanted. Now what we've done in this release is, for one, we've added 2 more additional colors that you can use. But what you can also do is you can go in and edit this color and you can change the name of the prompt to whatever you want. So maybe we could call this one Fascia. And I'll hit save. So now that accent color 1 is Fascia. I could come into accent color 2 and we could call this one Soffit. And save that one. We could hide these other 2. If we just don't want to use these other ones, we could hide them completely. I have them hidden. Depending on permissions, I can see them, but other people in my system who don't have the advanced feature here cannot see these colors. So if you only want to use a couple of these, you can hide these other ones, which I think is how they're going to come in actually. Or if you want to use these other colors for something else, you can change the names of these, or you can just leave them kind of generic like this. And we're going to go into a job and we'll see how those work. We can apply those to like the fascia and the soffit, so that when we change this color, it is going to change the color of the soffit and the fascia in the model. Okay, I think, yeah, that's the only thing I want to do here in these framing rules. From now, I'm going to hit save so we can see these changes. And one other thing here that I want to show you in the settings. So this time, I'm going to go up into the setup wizard. And this is specifically for openings, mostly the windows. So with these, all of the openings, you can select a style. And really the style is just a way to categorize these different types of doors and windows. And you can see like a slider window or a double hung, casement fix, bail door, the mullioned. Those we had before. In this release, we added a single hung, a vent, and an other. So that's for the windows. And we'll see how these look and work when we get into a job. But basically, when you go to pick a door or window in a model, you can organize them underneath these different categories. They'll have different icons that show up for each of these just to give you a clue of what these are. And you know, you can kind of narrow down. I just want a double hung window, so you can click on double hung and you'll get a list of just the double hung windows. Also very helpful for the e-modeler system where you have customers coming in off the internet potentially and designing their own barns to get bids for, get quotes, and they can kind of see these different icons and get an idea of what type of window, and then can narrow down the list and pick specific windows if you want to do that. So in order to get these different types of windows into these different categories, you do have to come in here to the setup wizard and just pick which ones these belong to. I kind of just randomly went through these. Some of them are undefined. Some of them I did add some new of these new styles, and just so we can see them in the model, I kind of did that quickly. But if you do want to come in here and organize these, you can do a download of these as well into an Excel file. And when you download that, there'll be a column for the style. And if you do want to make sure you get the correct text to use for these different types of windows, what I like to do is come in and you can do a few of the windows with the different styles that you're going to use. And then when you download that list, it'll have the exact text that you need in that column. And then you can just kind of copy and paste these different styles to the different types of windows that you want to use. So you can kind of organize your download file that way. And once you get it set up, you can come back here and upload it, and then you can have all your styles here. These also, some of this applied to the overhead doors and the walk doors. And I think we just, yeah, we just added the other. And so the other is just kind of a catch-all as opposed to undefined. You can kind of categorize those. So I think the overhead doors and the walk doors are also going to have this other as a new style that you could potentially use. But I think that's it for the doors in this case. So most of this was for the windows. And we'll see how that works. And let's see, okay, yeah, I didn't really change anything in here, so we're just gonna hit cancel here. So if you do wanna set those up, that's how you would do that. Okay, I think that is everything that we needed to do here with the settings. So at this point, let's go into this model that I set up. And so this is going to load up the pricing and the materials and all the 3D images. So here's this building, pretty simple building right now. And maybe the first thing we'll do here is we'll take a look at these colors. So here's that setup we just did. We have the fascia and the soffit. Maybe could have put color in there if I wanted, fascia color, soffit color, but I just did it this way. Right now, you can see that this is not really hooked up or linked up with the actual fascia and the soffit at this point. So if you do want to set these up for the fascia and the soffit, you go into the details and kind of scroll down here till you find the fascia and soffit. And so we have Eve fascia color and the gable fascia color. You could potentially set up those accent colors, one of them for Eve and one for gable. Right now, I'm just matching the trim color for the fascia on both the Eve and the gable, but we'll notice that this is now a choice that we have. So for both of these, and I'm just going to use this fascia color. And then for the soffit, similar kind of thing going on here. I'm matching the wall at this point, as you can see, but we can come in here, and again, you could have different colors here if you wanted for your even gable. And we'll select the Soffit color. And so one thing that I didn't point out in the framing rules, you could set these up in your framing rules to be the defaults, so that anytime you start a new job, it's going to look for this fascia color for your gable fascia and your soffit color. So you could save these as like your defaults in the framing rules, and then you don't have to come in and do this every single time you open up the job if this is what you always want to do. So I'm going to hit my refresh button to apply these, and then we'll go back to those colors and we'll see that, okay, so now it's already using those colors. It kind of had set up as my defaults. You can set up default colors as well. So here's our fascia with this crimson red, but whatever these may be, so you can have different colors here for your fascia and soffit, but these are configurable or customizable, so you can set these up however you want for different purposes. So now, especially if you have these set up as your defaults, you could just come in here and you could change your fascia and soffit color separately if you want. Yeah. So that's that. I'm not really going to get into the parallel core trusses. I mean, this is what those parallel core trusses are. I think most people know what these are, but some people don't use that term, parallel core truss. So just so you know, these are the parallel core trusses. If you do match these, you can get some webs to come in. And so with those different colors, you could kind of have a black parallel core truss with those black webs, or red, or those different colors. I'm just going to leave these here. I'm not really going to go into those and change that, just because I don't have those matching up in my truss catalog from this particular model. So yeah, maybe we'll take a quick look here at these openings, just to kind of go through these different things we looked at in the settings. So if we look at a window. So if I want to input a window here, come to the openings and click on the windows, and you can see these additional categories and the additional icons that we have for these. So we had this double hung before. We did put these arrows on here, just kind of an indication versus the single hung that we just added. Here's that vent. And then the other, it's just kind of a miscellaneous category. So if you have a window underneath slider, it's going to narrow that list down to just the sliders. And then, if we wanted to pick that and input that. So that's how those are used, those styles, really just used to help you organize these, categorize these, give you an icon and an image to help pick these out. So I had a few in here, but not much. I didn't really set these up properly, just for demonstration here. Okay, one other new item here, and we could have messed with this in the framing rules, but I'm just going to do it here in the model, and this is related to a request. I think we had maybe a couple webinars ago. So I already have this overhead door input here in this model, and I do have the header high checked, and I have a 2x12 for this, actually for all my overhead doors. But I just have this one in here now, and you can see this is what we've done before. When you clicked on header high, it's going to apply the header high material. You can do different plies, and the way we had this working just automatically is it went to the next supporting column. So it kind of skipped over these jam posts, posts for these openings, and went to these supporting columns. And it just always did that. And we had requests that we'd like to have some more control over these. So you can now, there's just header high boundaries that you can change. Then there's just a few of these. Right now, next column, that's going to be like the next supporting column. But you can say outside of the next post is really what that is, and it is going to consider these posts for the opening as the next post. So if you want, you can, you can change that to where it's going to the kind of jam post. There is also this inside a post. There's probably situations where people want to use this, but in this particular case, it probably doesn't make sense unless we have some sort of hanger or something. I don't know, but so you can't take it to the inside of that post if you have a reason for that. Maybe with some different types of headers that might make sense, but probably going to stick with these other two. So you can change that now. You can also set that up as a default one way or the other in your framing rules. Okay. So that's just some of the other items that we have in here, in addition to some changes to the interior walls, which probably going to spend a little bit more time here on these interior walls, and then we can open it up for any questions. So most of you have probably seen that we've added this 2D view, and this is where you can input doors and windows, same kind of functionality here. And you will get those same kind of categories. So we can come in here, and so you can select windows. And in this 2D mode, you can come in and input these. If you haven't seen these, I'm just going to quickly kind of go over some of this. You can click on these dimensions, and you can change these. So to place these, you can get a little more specific. So I wanted that particular dimension to be 24. To the edge here. You can center it by clicking on this if we wanted to center in the wall, which is right on that post. You can also drag these still. So you can input these doors and windows. You can drag, select, and actually do multiple of these and hit delete. And this has been in there. Probably most of you have seen this, but just in case you haven't, you can come in here and add doors and windows here. It's quick to do this. That's not loading the model, and you have a little bit more flexibility and control over these dimensions. You can still add these and change these in the 3D model, but this is a nice quick way to do it. And for the interior walls, you do have to click on this tab up here to add these. And we had these before. We did this last webinar. We've just added some additional things. So you can add a room, which will give you some dimensions, and you can kind of drag around and add the room, which I'll actually do here in a bit. You can also add just a single wall. So this add room is going to give you a room with either 4 or 2 walls. This add is just going to give you a single wall. You can still use the divider walls in 3D if you're used to that, but this really does the same kind of functionality. And so what we added new here are some additional properties that you can input for these walls while you input these. And in this case, I think I'm going to put in kind of like a divider wall here. So I am going to use the post frame for my framing. And this actually doesn't really apply because I'm using the posts at this point. You can change your foundation type. So this is just going to match what we have for the foundations on the main building, but you can do these for the individual walls. I'm going to keep post hole in this case, and I'll just kind of keep these settings. And I'm going to use this kind of as a divider wall, maybe right down the middle here or somewhere. Maybe we'll have kind of a garage over here and then some living space over here. And in order to place these, you hover over these walls. It's a little bit difficult to hit these right away. We're going to continue to work on these, but just some kind of tips. You can zoom in here, and it's not going to let me place it, I guess, right on that post, but you can zoom in and make it a little bit easier to drag these and see these dimensions. Let's say maybe I want to get this like right at 30. You can kind of get there. It's a little bit difficult, not too bad, but so I just clicked and it placed that. And so now this wall is in here. And I could keep going and place some other walls, but maybe I'm just going to do this one wall here. You can, if I close that, you can come and click on this and hit edit, or you can also just click on these dimensions. And this, again, you might have to zoom in a little bit. It's kind of a trick here. You get the change of your icon you can see there. So we could double click on this and we could change this to something else. So just kind of a little tip there of how you can change those dimensions once you get them in. So now we have this one interior wall. Same kind of thing is going on here with the rooms. So if I click on add room, I can change up, maybe we'll do a couple rooms over here. If you haven't used this, this is giving me this 10 by 12, but if you flip this, it just will automatically flip it to 12 by 10 in this case. And so we'll go through some of these. And one thing that I kind of forgot to do that I maybe wanted to do, maybe we'll do that in a second here, but I'm going to take a look at the finish that's on these walls. And with these rooms, you don't really get the same indication, but I'm matching my interior liner for all of these walls on the inside and the outside. And we'll look at that in a second, because I did want to do something different here with this divider wall. But then I can change up the framing here. I want these to be stud frame, and I'm going to use 2x6. And these are sitting on a slab. We really probably will add something like none or maybe slab here. We're just using our current settings. But we can do something like, I'm just going to change these all to 0 and just have these sit on my slab. So really no foundation for these particular walls. And again here, you kind of just walk around and you can place this. And maybe we'll put one over here in the corner, and maybe we'll just call that good for right now. So just a few walls that are using these settings here. We could go back and add and change these settings and kind of go through and add some different walls if we wanted some of these to be 2x4. So that kind of thing you can do now with those properties directly right here while you're inputting these. And again, if you want to delete these, sometimes it's the easiest way to deal with these. you can just do a sweep select and we could hit all these and delete them. We will get into the ability to edit each one of these. One thing we might want to do is go in here and change all these stuff from 2x6 to 2x4 or something like that. Right now you have to do that individually. We can't do that with sweep select, but we'll get to that eventually. But you can come into individual walls and double click, and we could come in here and change the length of these and change some of these properties that we already did. You can also edit these dimensions here by clicking on these again. So we could shift this wall one way or the other if we wanted to. So you can do some edits there with these individual walls once you input them. So they turn into individual walls, but you can input them like rooms. One thing I was going to do is I'm going to go back here and just take a quick look at, I'm going to double click on this one. It's going to pull up the properties and just take a quick look at the finishes here. So we have the side A and B, and you do get an indication of those. When you do the rooms, you won't get that initially, but you will get these for individual walls. And in this case, I like this side matching the liner. That's kind of what I'm doing for my interior walls. But let's say for this other side of the wall, I want to match my exterior with this is more like the garage side. And we're going to maybe have some steel panels on this side. So I'm going to just make those changes, say update, and yeah, I think that's maybe all we want to do in here at this point. Like Keith mentioned, next release, fingers crossed, we're going to have a lofts button here as well. So you'll be able to come in and do lofts as well. It's going to be similar to the rooms where you'll get some dimensions and you can kind of drag these around and you'll have some properties, what kind of joists or rafters are you using for those. A similar kind of thing is going to be coming up with the lofts. So let's hit return and we'll save our changes and we'll just see kind of what we get here. So a couple other things that we did that we'll see once these walls show up. We did a little bit of cleanup of how these come through in the 3D model. And this is running a little slow, but there we go. So I'm going to put my shell back on. Last time we added this ability to turn off the roof. So I'm going to do that just so we can take a look at here. You can see that here is this match exterior wall that we did. I probably should have entered these as two different buildings. You can use the attached buildings. This is just the liner panel that I have set up over here in my details for the liner panel. So all these, the materials and the framing that's getting used here, there are some in-depth settings here. So this is just something I have in my database, but we could change this. So you can change how these things get framed and what kind of different materials are being used. I have this liner going all the way around here, and I just have this one wall matching the exterior. Maybe I could have done two different buildings, and then we could have had a different finish on the interior for all these walls, and then have a different finish over here. But that's just the way it is for this building. And if I turn off the shell here, you can see we have our post frame wall that I put in with the posts, and then these walls with the stud frame just sitting on our slab. And one thing that we did clean up here in the current release that you're seeing, we cut these plates short at these corners. We had some issues at the corners with both the plates and with the panels. So we've kind of cleaned that up. We do have some more work to do on these. For example, like with these top plates, probably want to be able to overlap some of these very top plates for the stud walls. So in the future, we will get the ability to do some lapping on these, and they will affect these top plates and the lengths. So something to watch out for. In some cases, you might end up with something a little bit short here, though you can manipulate those lengths but something to keep an eye on. And so there are some other settings here defining, like I have a pressure treated bottom plate here. And these probably are fine. I mean, they're not lapping. It's just for each individual wall, but probably these very top plates, we might want to get some lapping in there. So we did some additional cleanup with the framing and with those panels for the interior walls. And we'll have more work to do with these. We're going to continue to work on these. But that is part of what we cleaned up in this particular release. These plates will lap better, and the panels will lap as well. Okay. I think that is pretty much it for this release, for the new stuff. Like Keith mentioned, we will have some lofts coming up next time. We are going to be doing some work on the porches. We're going to have some ceiling rafters available on the porches to where they'll come back and meet with the main building, and that's helping us to get to the point where we'll be cutting the panels at the porches. So we know we have work to do on the porches. We have a lot of requests for that, but we're going to have a start to that coming up next time with the ceiling rafters and porches. That's going to help us to know where to cut those panels, which probably won't happen next time, but it will be coming up afterwards. So we'll get the ceilings and those rafter for the ceilings in the next release. We're going to be doing some changes to the sliders, giving you more control over the size of these rough openings. We could have a certain size of slider door, but you can change that rough opening, make it bigger or smaller, and save those as defaults. Also giving some options on the wainscot and the colors as defaults on the sliders. We're going to let you turn off these doormats. I know we have some kind of a bigger project to be able to customize and do some different things with these doormats. One thing we're going to do next time is allow you to just turn these off and on for a first step in those. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to cover here in this release. So we do have some time for questions. So at this point, we'll open it up. If Paul or Royden or Mark or Keith or anybody out there at SmartBuild has anything else that you think I missed over that we want to cover, feel free to jump in. Any questions that came in from the chat that I didn't see, then we can bring those up first. Or if you have a question, just feel free to kind of jump in and we'll just have a discussion here, whatever you guys want to talk about.
There was a few questions. Duncan, we were commenting on interior girts, but I was just typing up a message to him. But I know that we've talked about, we only have interior girts or exterior girts. We do need to have something that puts girts on the post frame walls, but not the stud walls. So I know we've talked about that in the past. There's nothing, I don't believe, in the backlog for that. But whenever you put in a stud wall, usually you don't want to have girts on it. So we're going to need to put in, whenever you have interior sheathing, the interior post frame will definitely want girts on the interior. But then whenever you put in interior stud walls, you don't want girts on the stud walls. But right now we've got it just tied to interior and exterior. That's all.
Well, let's see. I mean, that's what I did here. I guess
that's the exterior stud or exterior of the post frame.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this pretty much demonstrates that. I don't have girts on these interior walls because I didn't want to, but I also don't have girts on this interior side because it's using the same settings as these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That is what's happening here. So, so let's see. We have an interior girt group.
Yeah. Yeah. It's under interior
framing and then interior girts. So I just have none. So yeah. So in this case, we have this one wall that has girts on one side but not on the other. Probably not what you want. Yeah, that's not a great amount of flexibility. What if we go into advanced edit here? Can we?
Yeah, you can do it in advanced edit. It's just those extra steps.
Okay. Yep, that's a good point. So we could come in here, interior girt, and say 2x4, that's the top girt, and then for regular girts. And then if we want a skirt board material. Okay. So we could add those in advanced edit, but not as easy as it could be. Okay.
So I don't, where was it? Chris, you asked, can you add a very bottom plate to post frame walls? I don't know if I've ever heard of that framing style. Are you talking about a flat board on the,
Yeah, can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay, so if we have a concrete foundation or on a slab here, like an interior wall, if we use a wet set post brackets, we still often add a sill plate between the columns. If we use drill set brackets, we would put a sill plate on the foundation and set our brackets on top of that, and that just provides a better seal, a better weather seal all around. So yeah, that's something that we definitely would use. I don't know how everybody else does it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can't do that now. You could use like a package. Is probably what you do now. Do you use some sort of a package to get those?
I could use a package, yeah. And I guess, yeah, that's all there. I mean, I could use a package for that, but if we could see it come in, because sometimes if it's 2x8 posts, it's going to be a 2x8. If it's 2x6 posts, it's going to be a 2x6.
Mm-hmm.
So having it as a main control would be great.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. We definitely get that on the list. So it'd be like a post frame, very bottom plate, maybe, or something.
Or
Okay.
just bottom plate, yeah.
Bottom plate. Okay.
Is that only for interior posts, or do you do that on the exterior also?
We do that on exterior as well.
Oh. Do you attach anything to it, like, you know, the sheathing or anything?
No, it would be in a post frame wall. It would be, it would be the same width as your post. So your skirt board on the outside and inside nails into that, and it makes it a lot more solid bottom edge, and it provides a
Yeah, I could see
better
that.
weather seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do the same thing.
That's the first I've heard of that. That's interesting though. Okay.
So the way
Next.
I address it
Yeah.
now is still use a stacked skirt board setting, but just push them both up. So it does give me enough material. So one of them is going to be under the post, one of them is going to be on the outside.
Oh, interesting. Okay. It's almost like a wainscot backer, Sean.
It would be.
We already have that for wainscot board. We put a backer behind
Yeah,
that,
skirt
and that
board
would
backer.
be similar to that.
Sure.
But it lies down here. It's like a sill.
Yeah,
Correct.
the wainscot backer does that. It stiffens up that long span on the wainscot.
Okay, yeah. It runs in between the post here.
Yeah, kind of like a commercial group.
Okay, yeah.
So I know it's
Yeah, it's
something
probably doable.
that would probably be quick.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, no, it's good. It's definitely something we can do.
Timothy asked, animating the doors and windows. I'm not sure about what you mean by animating, but we probably wouldn't do that. I don't want to say no, but that's a whole bunch of
Oh,
thinking for the computer.
can
You know,
open and close.
graphics. Yeah, graphics are the biggest suck for the computer, right? You're trying to move this around, and your graphics cards need to be moving pretty good. And just having one more thing on there as you're scrolling it around and you want it to be animated, that's quite a lot of resources.
It would be cool. But yeah, maybe in the future.
Let's see, material frame for going through the comments here just a second.
Sure.
Seth, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but if you put in a porch, Sean, with a rafter, the rafter tail drawings, right? You know how they kind of overhang and they stick through the building. We've talked about cleaning stuff like that up, but we have not worked on cutting pieces vertically or cutting pieces. That we just show the entire piece for right now. I think it was a fair amount of work that that would be required.
Yeah, we know we need to do that. We've kind of been pushing that down the road because it is a lot of work to get those correct angles. But certainly something we want to do. So it's good to get another vote for that to bring it up.
Timothy asked, how is TAS implemented? He was talking about having TCT with webbing, but that TAS video from 7 months ago shows standard trussing with webbing. So do you want to explain a little bit about how TAS works and what the parameters are to see the truss webbing?
You know, I don't know a whole lot about that. I don't know, Royden.
I can hop in there. I can hop in there, Sean. Just so everybody knows, we have had a background project that we've been working on actually for quite a while, several years, with one of the plate suppliers, with Simpson Strong Tie. And so what everybody is using today to spec out trusses, whether they're steel parallel core trusses or wood trusses, is our truss catalog. So I'm assuming everybody knows how that works, and it's a pretty darn good tool. You know, if you get out of it what you put into it, so you can put your pricing in. You can put in as many entries as you like, and SmartBuild will try to look up and do a match. It does a takeoff of your trusses, and then we'll try to do a match to the trusses that are taken off to what's in your truss catalog. If there's not a match, then you have the opportunity to just go ahead and put in a specific price for that oddball truss. The task project is where SmartBuild does the same kind of takeoff, but it sends that truss data to the Simpson wood truss design program. And so we can send out, so it can be any oddball truss. There's no longer a need to have these entries in the truss price book catalog. It'll real time engineer those trusses, send back the engineered solution, and because we have all of that engineered data, we actually are able to populate that final finished truss right inside of SmartBuild graphically, as well as having a real-time price that's been used. So for people to be able to use this, they need to either have a truss plant where they're using Simpson connector plate and truss software, or buy from a truss plant that uses Simpson connector plate and uses their software. Then it's possible. And I don't know, can you bring up, Sean, just a picture of that task solution so that people can see what that would look like versus, you know, the orange polygon that we show if we were just using the truss price book catalog. You have one available?
Do you mean a truss that would show that in the 3D model here?
Yeah,
I don't have TAS set up on this particular
okay
base, but I can. think I can match these. We can see some of the just generic webbing. I mean, if we really want to get into it, I think maybe Paul or Royden might have that set up.
Oh, that's steel parallel cord truss.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have one? If you took over the screen, you could show people.
I think Royden, if
I think
Royden's
Royden's
here,
got it now.
but it would look just like this except orange and 2x4 material. I mean, it's not. There's nothing crazy about what it's going to look like. It just would look like a finished truss.
It would show the web trusses and even the connector plates for the wood trusses. So anyway, hopefully that answers the question though. That's if somebody has a strong interest in pursuing that, feel free just to give me a call directly and we can talk about options there. But it is limited to truss plants that are using Simpson as of right now.
Right, because we're getting the actual engineered drawing from them, and so we place that drawing into this model. What you're seeing here with these metal trusses is because metal trusses have kind of a generic pattern, and we were told just make them look like this. That's great. That's why we were able to do it with these. Whereas if we did it with the flat trusses that you're used to seeing, we didn't want to give people the impression that these were engineered trusses. They're just ideas of a truss. So we were hesitant about giving people this webbing configuration for a wood truss. That was the main reason we didn't show that. Correct me if I'm wrong though, Keith. That's what I remember from our conversations.
That's correct. So for the steel parallel cord trusses, what we're looking at right now, that is only a visual representation of a fictitious truss. So it's not the trusses as they would actually be built. But people wanted to be able to show to a customer what the roof system would look like. And that's why we're doing this. So don't take that as the truss that will actually be manufactured. But it's the price that would be applied to that truss will be what's found in the lookup catalog. Okay, there is no engineering here. With the TAS interface that we're talking about with the Simpson Truss program, very, very different. It actually is doing real-time complete engineering on that truss. And what you're looking at in the 3D picture then would be the truss as it actually will be built and has been engineered. So it'll show, for example, a 2x8 top cord if that's what's required. And it will actually show the real size connector plate that would be on that peak joint, for example. So anyway, that's the distinction there.
All right. Thank you.
There's a few questions. Can you see the chat, Sean?
I can. I have to go to a different page.
Oh, never mind that. So
Yeah.
Trenton is asking, he says when he has a building that is half finished for half cold storage, half finished and half cold storage, is there a way to control the finishes so we only end up with liner steel in the finished portion without having to use the attached building option? I don't think so. If you're talking like you're just putting in a divider wall and you say, I want the interior of the entire post frame building, if it's just a single building like he has here, we can't cut sheathing up inside that yet on that one exterior right or left wall or the gable wall. We can't do that. But that's going to have to come in whenever we are able to do rooms. But for right now, you would have to use the attached building option. And I know that that's probably not ideal for you, but I think that's the answer.
Yeah.
And the ceiling liner on the attached building. Is there a way to control the ceiling liner on the attached building? I think you have to go into advanced edits on that particular building, or on that particular roof. I think that's how you control the ceiling.
Yeah, same concept as the walls.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, let's see. What is it going to use here? There's no setting specific to the ceiling.
Yeah, but you go in and you do the, if you click ceiling framing on, then you have to go in. If you only want ceiling framing on one building, you'll have to go in and click off ceiling for every other roof. So that gets pretty annoying, I do know. So
Yeah.
if it's just turning off the ceiling for just one, it's not such a big problem. But if you only want ceiling on one part, that gets pretty complicated on the bigger buildings.
You can actually do just the opposite. Go in and advanced edit, select the only roof you want to add the ceiling and add it to that ceiling.
Yeah, that's.
So let's see if we turn on the ceiling. It's going to give us
You'll get it through the whole building.
everything. Yeah.
But like you said, if you go into advanced edit and just pick the roof of the attached building. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have we have these rooms that we can input in the 2D view, which are really just the walls, but we have this idea of the rooms having all kinds of parameters, like the ceiling and these different types of liners for the room specifically. Right now we work kind of at a building level, but we know part of what we know we need to do is to work more at a room level where you could have different types of ceiling and different types of liner for this room, which maybe is storage, and then different types of settings for this other room. Right now those are really at the building level, but yeah, you can go into the advanced edit. And I don't have the ceiling turned on, but let's see, how do we do this? We go into the roof. So if we look at the roof panel, this is kind of a pain. Like we know this is not exactly how we want to do this. So yeah, those are good points. But let's see if we come in here and turn on the ceiling liner. We have to do these for both of these.
No, you don't.
Okay, yeah.
It will pick both, usually, because it's going to be one panel that actually goes across.
One panel, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, not exactly how we want to do this, but yeah, that's how we have to do this at the moment. No, that didn't seem to work.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So what I noticed is specifically what I'm looking at is if the building is all the same height and I do the attached building, like the roof properties and everything are the same, is it will combine the finishes from both sides and it'll make it one roof. So it takes away the control.
Yep.
From the attached building side.
Yep. That's a great point.
Even if I have the don't combine walls on,
yeah,
it'll still combine the roof.
Yep. Doesn't help you with the roof. So
I typically offset the ceiling height by 1/8 of an inch or something like that, but then it also still gives you roof corners, the things you don't need, but it does split the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried that too. It gives you the soffit, it gives you all the trims.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not ideal. So that's definitely something we want to fix. So yeah, if this roof is the same height here, it'll combine these these two roofs, and then you lose control. So here we have ceiling on one of these buildings, and I did have to choose, I think, this side. For some reason, it didn't work on this side. And we don't have ceiling here, but if these are the same height, they're saying that it combines these two roofs together, and it does change how these ceilings work to where you lose control over these individual buildings.
Well, we did that just because if we combine roofs, people didn't want to start over their sheathing either, right? Not the exterior.
Yep.
You didn't want to have a new break point in your sheathing, and that would have been an issue. So there's a lot of things that run into each other. You can ask for one thing, but then, well, the reason why we did it the other way is because everybody didn't want to restart their sheathing. Same thing with if you had one full building coming across here and it did combine the roof. Well, what are you going to do with the ceiling? And since the ceilings are combined with the roofs and the trusses, that's how all of that worked.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a technical issue that we have, and it is difficult, which is the reason that we haven't addressed it yet, but is definitely something we need to fix. So appreciate you guys bringing that up. I mean, that's just another vote. We'll bump that up the list because that is a pain.
Winston, he just asked, is there a feature for a lean-to or porch roof to automatically match the roof or main building? What is it that you mean automatically match?
You can do this offset down 0.
Is that what you're talking about, Winston?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so where you have your porch or your lean-to coming up, you can, if you change the height right, you can get it to combine the sheeting so you have one long sheet. Is there a feature to where it just automatically does that so you don't have to play with the wall height?
Yes, yeah, that is this offset down.
Oh, yep.
So if you do the offset down 0, that basically means it's going to match this sidewall height, which will end up just combining these roofs if you have the same pitch.
Okay, yep, that makes sense.
Yep.
So I had a question on foundations. Like when we go to add these interior walls, it would be really helpful to have a none option for foundations instead of setting the dimensions to 0, because it still counts. You can have a stem wall with 0 dimensions that does not show in the model, but it still counts the stem wall lineal foot in calc faces. So if I have packages tied to the stem walls lineal feet, they're still counted.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, so that's a pretty strong vote for none for this foundation types.
And I also wanted to mention calc bases. I don't know when you've last added more calc bases, but I think we need some more. 597 is not quite enough. It might be way more than that, but like lineal feet of interior walls, lineal feet of exterior stud frame, lineal feet exterior post frame. You know, if we could break those down into more specific calc bases.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Is that the complete list, you think? You can like shoot an email to us.
Sure. I might just as I come across those, just maybe shoot you a couple more. That was the first three that came to mind. But,
Yeah.
so
Yep. You can send those to me or to support. And
sure.
the cal bases usually are pretty easy to get in. So if we get requests, unless there's something weird about them, which I don't think there's going to be here, but should be something we can do relatively easily. So yeah, send those over. That'd be great.
So far, no other questions came into the chat.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? Going once, going twice.
Timothy just asked, why is there a truss bearer on the interior post frame wall? And it's because just that's what his exterior post frame settings are. You can go into that single wall post frame and remove it. You know, just say no truss carrier for that one. But
Yep.
it is going the wrong way. I don't know what you mean by going the wrong way, the truss bearer. Oh, you mean it's a gable wall. You think it doesn't know it's a gable wall, and it's not a gable wall. It doesn't think of itself as a gable wall. It's an interior wall. So you have the exterior settings. I understand what you're saying, but it's not a gable wall. Not according to the program, anyway.
Yeah, it really should be. So we do have a task on the list to have an option to take this up to the ceiling height in this case, or it'd be more like a gable wall. And yeah, that's a good point that in terms of the framing, we wouldn't
If it
need
just came in automatically, it seems like it would be a good thing, but then we'd have to know the direction of those walls and treat them accordingly. Would you want the interior wall running in the other direction, running along the eave? Would you want that to have a truss carrier? But I guess only if you think it's going to be bearing. So we would have to have post frame interior and post frame exterior.
Yeah,
distances.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing that I was thinking about is because of the direction that it's going, it really wouldn't help in your truss design. While if you had a wall running the other way, the full length of the building, you could use that as a truss bearing point. So it would make sense to have the option or maybe even the default of having that truss bearer. But if you put in a wall that is going along the length of the building, if I recall correctly, it doesn't include the truss bearer.
So if we make a wall going this way,
Yes.
yeah, then it won't include the truss bearer. Yeah, that could be the case. We could try that.
And a secondary interior wall question. Is there a way to reduce the height of the interior wall so that the height only goes up 8 feet or whatever?
We do have the height, yeah.
Oh, full height. Perfect.
Yeah. So if you uncheck that, you can put in a height. We do want an option that's kind of just go to the bottom chord of the truss or rafter. This one we don't have right now, but yeah, you can change that height. So I just put in this wall. Just kind of curious about this one. But yeah, we know we need kind of a load bearing versus non-load bearing option for a lot of these, including stud frame walls in the rooms potentially. So let's see here. So I just put this one in, but it did want to put in this.
Okay. I must have just misremembered. I thought at one point that the ones going long ways didn't include the truss bearer.
Yeah, so what you'll probably see, or what you could see, is if you